Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture, ICA. It is a great honor to have you all here virtually in this House of the Agriculture of the Americas in its Hemispheric central headquarters located in San Jose, Costa Rica, to celebrate the International Day of Rural Women's Celebration. So we would like to greet Excellency Maria Emilia Hondurraga Marimón, Minister of Agriculture of the Republic of Chile. Honorable Manuel Otero, Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, ICA. Ms. Susie Rodriguez Sura, Chief of Fellow for the Policies and Planning for the Head of Monitoring of the Offices of Policy and Sectorial Planification of the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, Republic of El Salvador. Mr. Lloyd Day, Deputy Director General of ICA. We would also like to greet Ms. Liliana Jimenez Molina, cocoa producer and citric producer and solidarity leader of Colombia. Samisha Lee, President of the Jamaica Network of Rural Women Producers, as well as all the other authorities who are here with us today, directors and staff members of ICA, and guests in general who have joined us via the social media of ICA. It is a great pleasure to greet you. We will begin with the opening remarks of Director General Manuel Otero. Well, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I would like to greet the Minister of Agriculture of the Republic of Chile, Maria Emilia Hondurraga, and on her behalf, I would also like to greet all the leaders of the rurality that are joining us today. An International Day of Rural Women from ICA, from the House of the Agriculture of the Americas. I would like to highlight and acknowledge all rural women. And this is a day to celebrate, but there are no reasons to celebrate. We are just commemorating this day just to remember once again that we have a pending debt with rural women, and also to highlight that we need to go from words to actions, from consensus to the development of concrete actions. So that's why I would like to review with you a few statistics that you might know, but it is important just to mention them to remind you of what the baseline is. 58 million women live in the rural areas in Latin America and the Caribbean. They are responsible for food security, safety, for diversity, and they are the guardians of the rural territories. And despite that, only 30% of female producers own their agricultural lands. And when they do, these are smaller and of poor quality. And they have the worst indices of food safety, poverty, extreme poverty, marginalization. And that definitely needs to concern us deeply. Taking care of children usually is in the hands of women who take care of 76.2% of all the hours, non-remunerated hours for child rearing. And this is oftentimes much more than what men do in this sense. In regard to the tasks and chores to be done at home and having to stay at home also have a negative impact. And then there is an increase in gender violence for women and girls. And this is something that has been demonstrated in different countries of the region. And despite the fact that many women have studied more than men in the area, and this is not only in the urban areas, but also the rural areas, Oftentimes, rural women receive only half of the wages of men and a third of what men in the urban areas receive. So, and this is directly related with poverty among women. And that's why at ICA, we are working hard in trying to come up with concrete actions, concrete steps to revert this historical debt that leads to a very clear difference in conditions for women who are in trade, in organization, in production, and in all the realms of rural life. And I'm just going to give you a few examples of a few actions that I believe to be important and substantive and that we have carried out during the past few months. During this year, and I believe it was towards the end of July when we were having the pre-summit that was held in Rome, we organized the first forum of ministers and secretaries of agriculture of the Americas. And we had 5 ministers present and around 15 vice ministers who had the need to show and see the policies and develop policies to move forward in the transformation of the agri-food systems. In this first forum that we hope we will summon again, we were able to visualize the contribution of rural women in the transformation of said systems. Nika just drafted a document on the key messages towards as we were preparing for the UN summit that was held on September 23rd. And this document includes 60 key messages that were agreed upon. All 34 member countries there we define how we will move forward in the transformation of agri-food systems in order to guarantee food security and nutritional security worldwide and in this continent as well in a sustainable manner. I would like to refer particularly to message number 13, which says that so that the agriculture contributes to attain global objectives, we would need inclusion for production and social protection aimed at guaranteeing sustainability both socially and economically and address what the most vulnerable areas in the rural areas have. And this need to be cross-cutting policies and work together with producers, and we need to pay attention to the needs of family agriculture, the youth, women, and rural women, and indigenous peoples and the poor in the rural areas. And I end the quote there. And so this is one of the 16 messages that we have conveyed to the world from our continent as part of a consensus that these 34 member countries have agreed upon. And this highlight the decisive importance of having policies that may allow us to see the gender inclusion for the transformation of agri-food systems. Once again, we would like to highlight that in our continent, we have 16.5 million family farmers who are the backbone of our rural areas. And they are key, these players are key to be able to move forward in terms of food safety and security, as well as nutritional security and environmental sustainability of the entire world. Another important contribution we've made is the document Youth, Young Women and the Transformation of Agri-Food System, which we have also made available to all of our counterparts. And we have also held dialogues with rural women in all the regions of Latin America and the Caribbean in different fora that we started in 2020 and to see what were their priorities within the context of COVID. And we're going to continue having those dialogues to be able to transform and create policies that may improve their condition and move forward in the evolution of agri-food systems that are more inclusive. I would like also to highlight that we have launched an initiative called Rural Leaders of the Americas to recognize the women and the men who are making a difference, who are inspiring us in the transformation of rural areas and who make a difference in Latin America and the Caribbean. With this award, we have identified an equal number of women and men as examples of gender parity. We have recognized the same number of women and men, and I would like to announce that today we are announcing the fourth rural leader woman, Ms. Liliana Jimenez, who will receive this distinction for her role as a cocoa producer and mainly as an outstanding advocate for the rights of rural women, a work that gives prominence to agricultural activity and contributes to improving opportunities and the quality of life of the families who are located in our rural areas. You can see on the screen the award that will be granted to Ms. Jimenez as soul of the rural areas. And eventually we will send her this award. And of course, we would like to ask her not only to join us in this initiative, but to help us in our very important endeavor of visualizing and modifying this situation. We have also created with special interest and enthusiasm the Hemispheric platform of rural women. It's a tool to support them by accessing relevant information and our virtual training offer. We connect them to exchange experiences and support their empowerment, which is one of our contributions to the 2030 Agenda for Gender Equality and Equity. And we hope it will be an effective tool for dialogue and advocacy in public policies for agricultural and rural development. All of our work forms part, as I mentioned before, of the resolution number 13, which is the political mandate that that I have at ICA by the Inter-American Board of Agriculture, our main governing body, which instructs us to maintain gender equality as a priority issue for the agricultural agenda. Precisely in line with this, very soon we will be holding the second forum of women ministers and vice ministers of the Americas as one of the priority actions that we'll be completing during the first quarter of next year, and that we will continue with the forum with rural women leaders and their organizations. Today, we have the presence of valuable women who embody the commitment, courage, and the will of millions of women throughout the Americas who work tirelessly to strengthen agri-food systems and build a new agriculture that, aside from being more efficient and aside from moving forward in a sustainable manner, has as an objective to be more inclusive. And I would like to acknowledge all of you, rural women, in this very important day, and all the staff members of ICA who make a reality our technical cooperation program. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Director General. Now, via a video, we will be listening to Ms. Maria Emilia Undurraga Morimón, Minister of Agriculture of the Republic of Chile. Good morning. I would like to greet all of those who are joining us today in the International Day of Rural Women celebration. I would also like to thank Nancy Boga, the ICA's Chilean representative, for inviting us to participate in this activity, and I would like to greet all rural women of Chile and the world. Women play a fundamental role in the development of our rural world. They participate in the different activities in these territories, collaborating significantly in local economy and contributing to reduce the gaps with regards to the urban areas, fostering new opportunities for those who live in the rural areas, promoting the eradication of poverty, education, they safeguard culture, they face climate change, they take care of the health of their family members and themselves, they guarantee food, and they strengthen social fabric, just to mention a few things that they do. These also have an impact on the conditions of rural women who live in different territories. And this has led to significant progress in terms of health and education. However, today we still have some important gaps that we need to face as home violence and lack of access to technologies. And this then forces us to double our efforts to visualize what needs to be done together with them. The celebration of International Day of Rural Women is done within a very special context because of the pandemic and because of the social and political changes that our country is facing. And women play a key role to foster change that may allow us to develop more tools to develop their capabilities, give value to their work, and also empower millions of women who are part of the rural world in our country. As the Ministry of Agriculture, we are fully at your service to be able to work together to improve the quality of life of rural women, to generate more opportunities for them, and in this way, make headway to a more fair, inclusive, and sustainable Chile. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we conclude the opening ceremony of this celebration. And now we will give the floor to Ms. Liliana Ramirez Quiroz, consultant specialist on gender and youth, who will give us some introductory remarks on the topic of this event. Ms. Ramirez. Good morning. As part of the technical cooperation of Costa Rica and its commitment with equity and gender equality, via our Director General, we have organized different fora with different leaders and ministers and prime ministers, female ministers of the Americas. They have tried to develop things that may improve the quality of life and the participation of rural women, as well as promote their empowerment and experience exchanges. And this is how ECAN is trying to respond to the needs mentioned by women. And that's why on August 17th, we launched the Hemispheric platform of rural women. This is a tool that has been made available to all rural women who can actually make use of it to access information on relevant information, to what the Institute is doing, as well as to connect with other women and their organizations. This is to bring together rural women and to this platform. And now we are very pleased to appoint as delegates some women that have stand out because of their commitment and their hard work and the visualization of rural women in the Americas, and also because they have been shown themselves as agents for change in the agri-food systems and in the development of the rural areas from their organizations and their countries, but also assisting other regions and having an impact worldwide as well. Thank you very much, Ms. Ramirez. So now we will continue with the appointment of delegates to the platform of rural women. ICA has the honor of appointing as delegates two very distinguished women who have committed themselves to to making this platform known, and we will be granting the fourth award for Rural Leaders of the Americas initiative. And so these are people who have worked in other activities and initiatives, and they have had a very important work within the agricultural sector. By alphabetical order, we will have Ms. Liliana Jimenez Molina, cocoa producer and organic citric producer in El Nilo in the department of Cundinamarca in Colombia. Ms. Tamisha Lee, president of the Jamaican Network of Rural Women Producers. So now we would like to give the floor to Liliana Ramirez, consultant. Both Liliana Jimenez and Tamisha Lee are truly leader women, and we want to acknowledge their important role. Liliana Jimenez, aside from being a citric and cocoa producer in Cundinamarca, Colombia, she is also part of the board of directors of Coaso Agro, an association that is dedicated to the production, trading, and transformation of cocoa. She also works with the National Federation of Cocoa Producers and with the National Fund of Cocoa in the trading program. She also is the leader of formation processes for the entrepreneurial development of associations and cooperatives. She's also in charge of the development and empowerment of women cacao producers as producers and as entrepreneurs. So she plays a very, very important role. Tamisha Lee is the president of the Jamaican Network of Rural Women Producers. She is the treasurer of the Rural Women Association. She's a member of the World Organization of Female Producers, of the Women Committee, and of many other committees and bodies that are part of the Open Government Association in Jamaica. She's also a producer, a farmer, and the director of AMAS, limited company, and she's been always advocating for rural women, not only in her place where she lives, but also in the Caribbean, the rest of the world. And she has participated in many very important fora, but she also participated most recently in the Summit for Agri-Food Systems in the UN, where she spoke on behalf of all producers of the world. Thank you both for accepting this award and the challenge that this also implies. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Manuel Otero, Director General of ICA, you will make the virtual presentation of the award and the appointment of delegates to the platform of rural women. Well, thank you very much. I would like to join this recognition when awarding the certificates, first of all, to Ms. Liliana Jimenez Molina. And let me read the certificate. Delegate of the Platform of Rural Women, which the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture grants this acknowledgement as a delegate of said platform. This distinction is part of an initiative of the specialized body in agriculture and rurality to acknowledge women who promote the empowerment, and I repeat, of rural women in the Americas. So you can see the certificate on screen, and I will also like to show it. I'm holding it right now. I would also, if you allow me, would like also
for rural women to Tamisha Lee, that reads, the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture hereby confers the title of Delegate of the Hemispheric Platform for Rural Women on Tamisha Lee. This distinction is part of an initiative by the Specialized Agency for Agriculture and Rurality to recognize women who are advocating for the empowerment of rural women in the Americas.
A continuación, damos la palabra a la señora Liliana Jiménez.
Now we recognize Mrs. Liliana Jimenez. We cannot hear you, Liliana. We still cannot hear you. Can you hear me now? Go ahead, we can hear you. Thank you so much. Good morning, special greetings to people that join us in this event and the celebration of the International Day of Rural Women. I want to thank you through Mr. Manuel and Federico Villarreal, ICA's team, because you have used as a flag the equality of opportunities for women, for rural women in the Americas. Let me tell you that since today I learned about the creation of the platform, of the Hemispheric platform for rural women, I felt quite excited because one of the gaps that I used to have when I participated in different events was that I was not able to establish a permanent contact with these wonderful women that participate in these events. Therefore, I really appreciate and I value the platform, and I'm committed to promote this platform through rural women and cocoa growers in Colombia I have contact with on a daily basis through the work I carry out in my municipality, but also through Berry Cacao on a very important role, which is to take the image to the cocoa culture and through the Cocoa Fund that has opened spaces for me to reach cocoa growers, women in Colombia, to talk about the empowerment, leadership, and entrepreneurship of women in our sector. My vision now of the Hemispheric platform is that it turns into an integration space for alignment, teamwork that led rural women in the Americas to articulate ourselves and to expand relationship networks to continue advocating in public policies and plans, in programs, projects, into rural women and to young people in rurality. I would like to promote the platform because through it, rural women in the Americas can not only advocate, but also to participate and decide in order to promote the structural changes that will contribute to reach real opportunity equality. I invite any rural woman in the Americas to celebrate today our day, going into the platform, registering in the platform, and starting to build and sharing your vision of the future of rural women as contribution to give dynamism to our platform. Thank you very much. Thank you, Liliana Jimenez. Now let's listen to Micheline. Go ahead. Tamisha, floor is yours. So here we have it.
Good morning, everyone. All protocols duly acknowledged. Salute. Not only is it an honor and pleasure for me this morning to be accepting this honor on behalf of our rural women. Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. All protocols duly acknowledged. It is indeed an honor for me this morning on this very, very special day to be accepting this responsibility. Not only is it an honor, but I am humbled and I am inspired to be selected as one of the delegates to the Hemispheric platform for rural women. It is timely and it will provide the tools necessary for us to advocate on behalf of our rural women in the Americas. On this day, I want to also use the opportunity to call for state and private partners to ramp up structural support and investment in rural women and girls in agriculture. We put the gaze on agriculture and its value chain, which is supportive of women producers and takes into account the unique position of women and girls. This also includes our education, training, and participation in food sovereignty. Women food producers must be enabled with the inputs to promote sustainable food systems, inclusive of agri-tech centers, which will facilitate the emergent and expanding linkages such as agritourism, food processing, health and wellness, climate-smart agri-practices, and land conservation, thus helping us to align with 21st century practices. Female producers recognize and acknowledge the importance of taking care of the land and connecting with nature for our own spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being, and we therefore bring an important balance to the agricultural value chain and environmental sustainability. To advance economically, the women's cooperative are essential to developing sustainable and progressive food systems. Women must be connected to markets and have equal opportunity to negotiate our products and prices so that unfair commercial practices which currently exist are addressed, as well as being able to represent our interests. We also remind our rural women to prioritize mental and physical health such that we can continue being productive and enjoy the fruits of our labor. We know that COVID-19 has taken a toll on the society, with women and girls expressing compounded economic impacts due to the pandemic, deepening pre-existing inequalities according to the United Nations 2020 report on the impact of COVID-19 on women. As women, we must continue to uplift each other and demonstrate our true strength. We also invite our men and boys to contribute to elevate women in similar ways by acknowledging and respecting the role and value of women in general. We need men in the movement so that we can overcome and make the world a better place. Let us therefore celebrate our rural women and on this day and beyond as natural producers, where we multiply whatever is given to us as an agricultural producer in our own right, contributing to sustainable future. So with that said, this platform is very timely, and I intend to use it to advocate for our women, not only in Jamaica, but across the hemisphere. I thank you once again for giving me this opportunity, and I intend to serve with distinction. Happy International Rural Women's Day to all you rural women out there. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Liliana and Tanisha, wonderful leaders of rurality. As delegates of the Hemispheric Platform for Rural Women, assume today the commitment to support ICA for this tool developed for women can really reach as many rural women as possible in the Americas. To continue with this task carried out by ICA to open spaces to share with rural women, let's begin with a forum that will be led by Mariela Zuniga, coordinator of Safeguarding Access of Gender and Youth, and the forum is priorities of the gender agricultural agenda, with the participation of leaders from each region in Latin America and the Caribbean. As you will see, They represent this diversity of women in the Americas. Marila, go ahead. Thank you, Ileana. I take advantage of this opportunity to greet Mr. Manuel Otero, Director General, Daily, and Federico Villarreal, Director of Technical Cooperation, who accompany me in this head table. It is time to give the floor to the 5 rural women leaders in the Americas. They will address this topic, priorities in the gender agricultural agenda. First, I would like to submit I would like to introduce each one of the rural women that join us today. They have production realities, the marketing, different experiences, empowerment, and quite diverse realities. From personal experiences, they are going to be the voice of many other rural women in the Americas today. Let me give you a short summary of each one of them. There is from Belize, founder of Ecoma, a company of natural products for hair care, using cultivated algae on a sustainable manner in her local community. They believe that the limitations of rural life can lead to innovation. The second participant we will have in the forum is Yusara Arandas from Brazil. She's a rural leader, master's degree in semi-arid development, and founder of the Agricultural Cooperative of Canudos, Coopru. We also have the participation of Evelyn Alvarado from Costa Rica. She is a student in business management and social sustainable tourism. She is also a member of ASOPAC Entrepreneur Women and cocoa grower. From Guatemala, we have Petrona Perez. She is a young woman, a coffee grower, and she lives on a village called Guam. It is Jacatenango village located in Huehuetenango. We also want to greet Isabel Mendez, who is with her from the Big Cafe Cooperative. Liliana Quintero, she is from Peru, professional coffee grower, veterinarian, and physician. She has been director of the Executive Council, and she also works with Caramog and from the Coffee National Board. She's also the chair of the National Convention of Agro Program with the Agro. Thank you to you all for being with us this morning. Now, I will give a short explanation about the dynamic of this forum. Each one of the 5 women present here will have 7 minutes to present your ideas and contribution with regard to the topic I mentioned at the beginning, priorities in the agricultural gender agenda. After listening to each one of your answers, in addition to this, you will have another minute to share your conclusions. This way. So let's begin with Mrs. Jolie Polar from Belize. Jolie, the floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, great. Good morning, and thank you, Ika, for inviting me to participate. I live in Plasencia Village, which is a very small community of just about 1,000 people. It's a village on the southernmost end of the Plasencia Peninsula in Belize that has a population of 3,000. Today, however, I am in the United States, so I'm in a very nice place, not like my place back home. So I've been living in this village for 10 years. Before that, I was living in Belize City. And living in the village, I had very few resources like everybody else in the village. And one of those things was a good cosmetic product for my hair. Living in a beach village, we are exposed to the sun and the salt and humidity. And none of the stores in the village had what I wanted, which was something natural and safe without a lot of chemicals. And so I believe what I want to emphasize in my story is that when you live in a rural community, sometimes limitations help you to innovate. Because if I were not in this village and lived somewhere where I had everything I wanted or had a lot of options, I would have never tried to create something. And so what I did was use seaweed, which is farmed by our local producers in the community. It's farmed out at the sea, and I use the seaweed to make a hair product. And of course, I was able to start because other women in the community bought my product. Other women in the community sold it at their shops. And then with that beginning, I was able to communicate with women in different parts of the country, including urban areas who were interested in buying the product. And now I'm in the United States with some people who are interested in selling it here. So the idea is that women in rural communities need to realize that just because they don't have access to things that women in urban environments might have access to, it should never discourage them from creating things, because they have no idea what the market might want for what they have. And also, they can work with the support of other women, no matter if the women are in a rural community or in urban areas. They can work together to lift each other up. And also in my business right now, the people farming my seaweed, mostly men. There's also a woman farming the seaweed, and now more women are getting involved with farming seaweed. But we respect each other, and I believe that women in rural communities, as we are trying to rise up, we also need to try and maintain a positive relationship with the men who are working with us. And because in rural communities, men are also at a disadvantage sometimes. Not all men are doing better, and some of them need to be encouraged as well. So as women, if we can help to encourage our men as well, we can do even better together. And I think ultimately that is where we need to be. I think that is what I have for my presentation.
Muchas gracias, Jolie, por su participación.
Thank you, Jolie, for your participation. What you comment is very important. So let's make a short summary of what she mentioned. And this is about the importance of the support we may have from other rural women. She tells us that from her reality, with few resources, she can make a good use of innovation, which is a feature that all of us can develop. And she can generate her products and satisfy her needs with the support of other rural women. Thank you, Jolie, for your lesson. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we give the floor to Yusara Dantas. Time is yours. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I especially thank the invitation made by ICA. With the table members, I don't know if the sound is right because I'm having some noise. We can hear you pretty well. So I read the members of the table. Today we are celebrating the International Rural Women Day. My name is Yusana Dantas. I'm a founder of a cooperative, a family agricultural cooperative from Ghana, Brazil. A cooperative located in the Bahia semi-area in Brazil that gathers 270 growers. So there's 70% of women working with native fruits. In this case, we have a boo, which is a fruit that only exists in North Brazil. And And so we transform all this and Candice and Kelly. So this work started from a social mobilization activity through the pastorals from the church. So thanks to the church, we have been present in the market for 17 years now. At the beginning of the activities, we had a lot of issues to access the market, but with the incentive of public policies, the food acquisition program, we were able to insert ourselves in the national market as well as in the international one, exporting our products to France, Austria, Italy, Germany through a fair trade. Celebrating the International Rural Women Day is recognizing the importance of the female figure for food production and the poverty eradication and the struggle against inequalities, mainly on challenging the environment, as is the case of rural women living in arid area and semi-arid areas. There are many priorities for rural women because they are an active part on the first phase of the productive change, right from land preparation up to planting and harvesting. I'm going to mention some necessary and urgent actions for us to move forward in the implementation of the Agenda 2030 in order with objective number 5. First, it is necessary to be aware that rural women empowerment needs more participation in decision instances such as forums, conferences, technical chamber creations, among others, as well as full access to educational opportunities and training opportunities. So empowering means to ensure a growing participation of the rural female leadership in decision-making spaces, political decision-making spaces, and also at all levels. A better integration of rural women to formal education, as well as technological seminars and agricultural training. This is vital to provide the necessary knowledge and skills for women to be able to join a new generation of politicians, businessmen, aware about the importance of the preservation of the environment, of renewable energies, in order to improve the life quality in their communities, and aware about their role to ensure food and nutritional safety. It is necessary to implement public policies on an integrated manner. In the global scope, they will favor the empowerment and legal equality, and that we have better conditions in order to overcome discrimination against women. That is still the predominant element. It is also necessary to have a better institutional articulation within the organization of society in order to ensure public policies and their implementation, support to structuring and approval of organizations and cooperatives in order to ensure the equal participation in the decision-making processes. Another priority is to strengthen the leadership of rural women and to give visibility to their work, to the contribution they make to agriculture. Also, in this pandemic period, we have experienced many issues. and the scope of production. So from there, we got the need to improve digital connectivity in order to facilitate the trading our products and market research, marketing, the internal and external situation of those who support us. Also, the need to promote the exchange of experiences in order to motivate the participation and leadership of rural women, as well as to promote better participation in marketing processes, as well as in the distribution of agricultural products with the logistics support in order to facilitate the distribution of products, to expand the access to productive resources and financial services. Because in general, women have sort of restricted access to credit. And finally, the need of a differentiated regard in terms of access to appropriate medical services, because we know about the difficulties rural women face in order to ensure that the right is respected. And this is an obstacle that we need to overcome for women to implement their activities in a better manner. So I wish this date, this important date for us rural women, the conquer date, and that we may have guidelines based in our expectations and in order to respect the Agenda 2030. Have a happy day, rural women. Thank you very much. So, thanks for your participation. Now, you Sarah, when you mentioned the jelly production and you mentioned different problems, and thanks to different stakeholders, she was able to move forward with their entrepreneurship. Important things related to the priorities that need to be considered for the agricultural gender agenda. One of this is the one mentioned by the one that mentions the importance of the gender equality, and also to share it with women and girls, so to raise awareness about the empowerment. I believe all of us here believe that all together we can make the difference, and the empowerment is very important. We talk about leadership as an important factor for this to occur. She also mentions the importance of public policies and the articulation necessary with different stakeholders for these policies to become a reality and not just on paper. Thanks you, Sarah. Now we give the floor to Evelyn from Costa Rica. Evelyn, the floor is yours.
Can you hear us, Evelyn? Evelyn, can you hear us? Can you hear me now? Yes, we can hear you now. The interpreter apologizes. She's cutting off a little. Hello, good morning. My name is Evelyn. I belong to a group of cacao producers in Costa Rica. The association has 80 cocoa producers, sorry, and they help producers, people in terms of market, certification, training, and some of the problems the rural women face is access to credit. As a friend told me that oftentimes the rural area have a face of a woman. A woman may have good producing ideas, but finding financing becomes something very complicated. Having access to the land, to the animals in general. And so for a woman to attain financing is very hard. Oftentimes she's rejected because she doesn't have anything under her name that may be used as collateral. So oftentimes in rural areas, the distance, and the interpreter apologizes. There is no audio right now. So there is a long distance between things in the rural areas, so they're very hard to process. Evelyn, maybe if you turn off your camera because the bandwidth is not being enough, and we're having connection problems now. Can you hear us now? Evelyn, can you hear us? While we wait for Evelyn to solve the technical problems, we are going to give the floor to Ms. Petrona Perez for her to address us. Go ahead, Petrona. Good morning. My name is Petrona Perez Jimenez. I'm from the municipality of Huehuetenango in Guatemala. I am part of the Cafe, a cooperative of coffee producers. I am a member of this association and I'm part of the board of directors. I'm going to share my history briefly of how I became part of this association. My father traveled to the United States and he didn't do well in his trip. And I was left alone with my mother, with my grandparents, and the rest of my family. So I had to take care of the coffee production. And I had the need to look for a place to sell my coffee. So one day, I accompanied an aunt of mine to the doctor's appointment in San Antonio, Luisa. And I was sitting there and I saw an announcement that said coffee. And so I asked those who were in that shop and I asked them if they were willing to buy coffee. And they said yes, but only through an association via samples so that they can rate the coffee. And that's how I was invited to be part of the Cafe Cooperative. I became a member of this cooperative, and then I participated in an activity, in a fair organized by ICA, and so I became one of the specialty coffees. Out of 40 samples that entered the contest, I won first place for specialty coffees in this lab. And that's how my coffee was then known to coffee producers and traders and buyers from other places. I sell my coffee to producers from Guatemala and other countries. And so I would like to thank for the support that I have received from the cooperative and the technical assistance trainings by ICA, who have taught me how to work with coffee. And thanks to those, I have been able to develop some ideas to handle coffee, take care of it. And thanks to them, I was able to learn how to have natural, or produce natural coffee. And I've been receiving lots of support from my colleagues at the cooperative. There were 6 women and 14 men in the cooperative. And so that's where we all are members and support each other. That's why I wanted to share my very brief history and where I'm standing right now. Even though it's going to be a bit hard for me to explain this, but I'm still here doing my best to explain my story as a rural woman. And before that, I had no idea of anything that had to do with coffee. I never thought of other skills. So ICA and the cooperative have helped me develop the skills. And I have been able to talk to other rural women as well. There may be other women in our area in Guatemala. Maybe there's women who are just producing, and regardless of whatever product they're producing, but they are working hard at it. And since there's nobody supporting them and nobody giving them a hand to move forward, and it is very important to support them. Some women depend on themselves and their crops to be able to provide for their families. So we need to support those small producers and help them to become part of a small cooperative. We need to support all of these initiatives, and also taking care of health and education for rural women is important. For some women find it hard to go to other places to work. That's why it is very important for them to be able to develop themselves within their own communities. And that's why I wanted to share with all of you my experience. I hope I didn't confuse you with what I said. I'm just telling you from the heart what I feel, what I think. And so that's how it's, I think it's important to help rural women the way I've been helped. I've been assisted. I thank ICA again, and I thank the cooperative again, because thanks to them, I have met buyers and producers of other products. And that's why I thank God for being here, sharing my story. I never thought I would actually had a chance ever to share the way I entered the world of coffee. So I thank you for that. Let's all assist and support the rural women, and let's fight for what we do. It's important to do what you want, what you like. It's all a matter of time and patience. Greetings to all rural women and to all of you who are listening. Have a great day. Thank you very much, Petrona, for telling us the story. So I'm going to summarize what Petrona said with her closing remarks. She said, we need to fight for what we do. And we see how Petrona is an example of someone who has been able to get the support of cooperatives and the youth in her area to be able to attain what she set as an objective. And it has now become a reality. Thank you very much, Petrona, once again. So let's see if we can get in touch with Evelyn. Evelyn was telling us that she was having some connectivity issues. So while we solve the technical problem that Evelyn is experiencing, we are going then to give the floor to Lucila Quintana from Peru. Lucila, the floor is yours. Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank ICA for this invitation. during this International Day of Rural Women celebration. Rural women are becoming together to guarantee in this forum the priorities of the agricultural agenda presented by ICA. We always hear that women need to contribute to agri-food systems, to nutritional and food security and safety, to assist in with the problems of climate change. But we need to see how we can protect and guarantee the production factors such as land, air, water. And the water is a priority for life. Without water, there is no life for plants, animals, or human beings. So the water scarcity will put at stake agricultural production. It might generate conflict at the urban area. It might generate health problems and energy crisis. So the idea is for rural women to think on ways to use water efficiently, to see how we can guarantee that water is seen as a priority. And try to prevent the lack of water, look for crops that do not require much water. And we would also like to incentivize economically people so that they use water efficiently, guaranteeing their reservoirs and wells that are being placed in our country. Another topic that is also challenging us is global warming. Global warming has an impact on the agriculture and livestock production. It affects the economy of men and women, generates pandemics, health issues. It makes natural resources suffer. It degrades our biodiversity. It pollutes the environment. It generates some food insecurity. And this is something that is happening in the medium and long term. Another priority that we have also taken into consideration is the implementation of public policies. The implementation of public policies should put at its core the youth and the rural women as a strategy that puts into practice best practices for inclusion. If we have the banana, cocoa, coffee, and fair trade producers have joined here to develop the 31335 law for the right to associate. This helps to help us in producers in any modality, be it in associations, cooperatives, as groups and central, so that we can guarantee institutionality and have representative associations or organizations that may be organic in the way they function. In this act, we have guaranteed that articles include the presence of women. So this act has its Article 9, which is the in fact union, and anybody can be part of our cooperative, and women can participate when men are not present in the meetings. And we have incorporated in this law the effective participation of women. That is to say, women are part of the governing bodies of our cooperatives, and we need to make sure we have all the cross-cutting topics in technical assistance, in trainings, in added value of products. And so this law, this act, is a pillar in our country that opens the discussion for a second agricultural reform that will help visualize the effort of women, all good practices for inclusion in the action plans, in the development of committees, on gender, on leadership, and also the training of youth for the different activities that will allow them to participate in rural entrepreneurships and also have an incidence on climate change. We urge the President of the Republic to implement and make sure it is enforced so that we can all benefit from what is included in the law. Another point would be empowerment and economic autonomy of all rural women. We need to have some capacity building focused on agri-food businesses, on entrepreneurships, and the transformations of all the processes where women should have full participation and have access to financial education and inclusion and digital inclusions. We need to be part of the governance of cooperatives. We need to have access to technologies, IT technologies, and communication technologies. We also, particularly during this pandemic, we need production, and most important thing here is for our products to be able to be traded. And we need to have dynamic markets to guarantee that our products can actually leave our plots and have commercial visibility. Otherwise, many products will be lost due to the lack of roads or the lack of virtual communication. This will allow to guarantee the rights of women to economic autonomy as the main pillar to prevent domestic violence. We need to have cross-cutting investments in products where women, the youth, and men have a specific commitment to guarantee this economic development process within all the things that our family and rural farms can do. We need to guarantee economic participation and have a trade and financial access, and also within our own organizations, we need to have some reforms with regards to the regulations. We need to have the bylaws within our associations, cooperatives, organizations, so that there is a regulation that may guarantee the inclusion of women and the youth, so that these structural changes within the organizations can be carried out with good governance, with services that provide for whatever women need, and are aimed also at strengthening the inclusion of women and the youth in this commercial dynamic within our organizations.
We must ensure to promote gender actions with good best practices. And this is what we're missing in our organization, to raise the self-esteem of women, to the need to ensure the procedures of inclusion of best practices, to make evident the benefit and to empower women socially. The government has the obligation to make better efforts to ensure main rights and freedoms that women, elder people, girls can have for an effective realization. And this can be guaranteed by empowering women socially, economically, politically. So let's try to find how to strengthen as a government that those prevention services, protection and sanction services of violence that exist for women of quality and immediately. And to do so, we need to consider the police systems, the Ministry of Women, and Ministry of Justice that need to fulfill their role to evolve, in order to reduce this violence, because it affects a lot our societies. And finally, I want to tell you that empowering rural women is like committing all the families in order to raise our productive capacity, to work on the diversification, and to respect the objectives of sustainable development. That calls everybody, institutions, politicians, cooperation, NGOs, to set the cross-cutting partnerships in order to ensure that women can really have this social development and to find their justice that corresponds to us by law. Thanks for your attention. I hope I have fulfilled the expectations of this forum. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lucila, for your words. So, in a short summary of Lucila's comments, she makes an important call to take care of water. She also mentioned some important factors to consider. First one will be the creation of public policies with a focus on rural women and as well in the inclusion practices. She also makes a call to mention to the importance of the partnership from the different modalities. She also talks about the empowerment and the importance of capacity building. She mentions the importance of agribusiness and the access, which is very important as well, to financial inclusion. And finally, she mentions to get resources in order to struggle violence. Thanks again, Lucila. Now let me read some words Evelyn would like to share, because unfortunately she had connectivity issues. But for us, it is very important to hear and to share what Evelyn had to tell us. So I'm going to read a little bit what she wanted to transmit to us. Evelyn is part of a cocoa growers association in the north of Costa Rica. This association has 80 cocoa growers and helps producers regarding market issues, certification, and training issues as well. Some of the issues the experiences great access, as a grower friend mentions. Poverty in rural areas has this women face. Somebody may have quite productive ideas, but being able to get funds is quite complicated. In rural areas, men are the owners of the land, animals, the men are owners of everything. So for a woman to ask for a loan is not accepted, because she does not have anything on her name to support his requisition. It is also important to highlight that the distances are long distances with difficult access. And that is why many women in the region wish to have support networks in order to create solutions to their problems they experience on a daily basis. Because of the pandemic, they have had a lot of difficulties. Connectivity issues, for example, the internet access is not good enough. It is causing a lot of problems because many institutions decided to make some of their procedures through internet, and in some cases it is really helpful. But considering the connectivity issues and access to this type of technologies, they have not been of great help. Labor issues, as mentioned by the coordinator, I am part of a group of women working that develop chocolate and some cocoa-based products. But because of the pandemic, we were not able to continue working because the members belong to different sectors with long distances. So it was complicated to continue working and supporting the population. Thank you very much for this space, and a happy day to rural women. Thanks, Evelyn. So for transmitting some way what you experience on a daily basis. So we hope that I want to tell you that we are working to support you in one way or another. Okay, thank you, Jolie. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Evelyn, Petrona, and Lucilla. You are a little rural women that promote the change in improving the life conditions of rural women, as well as in the agri-food systems in the Americas. Today, we are really thankful with your participation. Now, I'm going to give the floor to Mrs. Susie Rodriguez de Sura, Head of Monitoring of the Office of Policies and Sectoral Planification, OPPS, of the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, Republic of El Salvador. She will address some closing words. Time is yours. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. In this important event of celebration of the International Day of Rural Women. Excuse me. Could you turn on your phone? Can you hear me? Yes, we can.
Es que te vemos de medio lado. Tal vez si giras el teléfono.
It is the computer, the camera computer, what is causing me some trouble. I don't know why. Okay, doesn't matter. No problem. So go ahead. With my apologies, I have not realized that. So continuing with this important celebration, we want to honor all these women working in the Salvadoran land and plant and harvest the future for our country. Also, it is important to indicate that vulnerabilities of rural women have been affected because of the pandemic of the COVID-19 that affects the whole world, and to raise awareness about the struggles and needs of these women. There is a key role in our society. So we need to recognize and to promote agricultural and rural development, to improve food safety, and to eradicate rural poverty. That's why it is important to support them and that we can eradicate the violence and poverty in vulnerable sectors. That is why, on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, I give my appreciation for being part of this important event. Thank you very much. Thank you. We are getting to the end of the event, so I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Federico Villarreal. Thank you, Eliana. Well, first of all, I want to greet and thank the participants in this event and those who have spoken, have honored with the presence as the Mrs. Maria Miriam Durriaga, Liliana Jimenez, Tamisha Lee, Jolie, Susara, Evelyn, Petrona, Lucila, and Susie Rodriguez. Also, and I want to thank ICA's team, particularly, constituted by Ileana, Maria Elena, Silvia, Carlos, and Isis. They have made this event possible, and they have worked hard in this in order to organize the event and to get to October 15 and to the celebration of this Rural Women Day, where the voice of women have been expressed. So we share the need to set priorities and policies aimed to take care of the needs of each rural woman. Our Director General, who is committed with the equity and gender equality, has recognized rural women as the example and producers of the voice of women. And the platform, what is key, and we would like to continue promoting because we consider vital to continue closing the gap that affects societies as a whole, and particularly rural women. In that regard, we also have the opportunity to listen to young women, adult women, indigenous women that have brought the voices of many other women that make efforts to keep the production of food, to participate in the local organizations, to get the recognition of their contribution to build a better life for them and their communities. Women that express their ideas through their voice that we are interested in listening and to amplify from ICA, and along with our countries, rulers and our partners like Microsoft and others, Dakar, Bayard, Govdeva, and PepsiCo, among others. We will continue supporting for your work, for their work and their voice be recognized, quantified, valued, and shared in everything related to domestic tasks and care of the family, for them to participate in all possible spaces to show that rural economies and agro-food systems are sustained in you and with you. From ICA, we reiterate once again our commitment to support and promote your participation, productive and economic participation, as well as the capacity building and networks strengthening, joining efforts for the development of the Hemispheric platform of rural women, which was considered for and by you. So we invite you to register and to be active part of this initiative. Also in the same direction, we invite you to use, in the best sense, to use them, to read them and to defend them as part of your voice in our publications. Just to mention some of them, we include the book Fighters and the 2 editions, our publication about gender digital inequality, which is something more enforced and it needs to be solved, and particularly the text developed under the framework of the summit mentioned by our Director General at the beginning of this event, and including messages in the way to the United Nations about agro-food systems from the Americas perspective. Also to participate and use to express their voices at different forums. Among them, I want to mention the Minister Forums and next forum that is going to take place early next year, as indicated by our Director General at the beginning. The Forum of Ministers and Secretaries of the Americas, as well as the forums carried out with rural women and leaders in the Americas. Because there we are interested in their voices and because we are interested in their voices to be listened to. We will keep in contact because we want our actions, the aim to improve our work. And this is not possible without recognizing that we need to work more for and by and with you, rural women from the Americas. So we wait for you in the rural women Hemispheric platform, as well as in the activities that we organize in the 34 countries we are present. We recently mentioned this when we launched the hackathon of rural youth with young people and rural women. We can make this qualitatively for a future not letting anybody behind. Thanks, women from the Americas. Without you, it won't be possible to think about a better future for ruralities. Before concluding, I would like to give the floor to close the event and to make an announcement to our general director. Dear friend, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Federico. I think you said it all very eloquently in Spanish, so I'll just echo the thanks of the Institute in English to all the women who participated today. It was quite an impressive group of leaders, both farmers as well as those in politics and public policy. When we consider the form of the ministras and vice-ministras, the women ministers and vice ministers of agriculture, it made me recall that my first job in agriculture was working for the first and only ever Secretary of Agriculture in the United States that was a woman. I've had many women leaders in my career and have benefited from them encouraging me. So I agree with Julie Pollard from Lisa and what she said, that it's a team effort and we all need to work together. There's great emphasis on improving the visibility of women in both the agricultural sector, farming, but also in companies and throughout the value chain. And just yesterday, Ileana Ramirez and I were asked at the very last minute to join a large agricultural company to discuss with all their women in Latin America what we're doing in ICA with the Forum of Ministers, as well as the Hemispheric platform for rural women. To have them and the private sector and their customers join us, as well as all of you in this platform for rural women in the Americas, so that we can join forces and expand the number of women that are able to take advantage of this and contribute to it and show us what to do in order to benefit them. So we're incredibly grateful to all of you for your time, for your effort. We need to bring together all the different groups at national, international, and local levels to work to promote an inclusive and prosperous agricultural sector for the Americas and the Caribbean. So thank you very much and have a wonderful International Day of Rural Women.
Muchas gracias, Federico y Lloyd. Esta celebración no finaliza acá. Les invitamos.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. This celebration does not end here. In 25 minutes, we will be launching the award of Rural Women Brazil. You can see that via YouTube ICA Brazil and get to know more about this initiative. And we also like to visit mujeresrurales.ica.ent, which is the site for the Rural Women Hemispheric platform, and for you to see it and make sure that this tool that was created for rural women can actually make a difference in their life conditions. So thank you to all the organizations and all the different member states of ICA and all the people who have supported this event so that we can all celebrate today rural women and also see that there's a long way to go, but then all together we can work to support them because they're the backbone of the agri-food system, of the rural lives and the development of rural areas. So thank you all and see you in ICA's Brazil channel in a while. Thank you.